Welcome back to another Alvaro video. Now in today's video, we're going to be watching a game played by myself. Now before you click out of this video because you're thinking, man, I only watch rank 1 NA. If it's not dish soap, Setsuko, or socks, then I can't watch the video. First of all, this is PvE, so literally no one knows what they're doing. This was legitimately my first game, so I mean, I definitely didn't know what I was doing half the time, but I was able to get 7 Infiniteam on stage 3, so I thought this was a good chance to, make a video to help everyone learn about, the trait specifically. And, since everything is new, I'm going to be taking time to make sure that I explain everything from, the ground up to make sure, like, no one is left behind. And for those of you that, are still trying to make those last minute climbs on set 8, I have not forgot about you. I'm going to be making some more videos about that stuff. But for now, the new units are out, and who doesn't want to, learn more about what is to come for set 8.5. Now, since there are new units, or like speaking of the new units, if you go to tactics.tools and you really want to know like everything that's new about 8.5, they have descriptions of what every new champion does. And the best part is that they also have this thing where it's like, oh, I want to know what the new hero augments for Aatrox is. You can click augments, and then it shows you both of them, and you can do that with every single champion. Okay, so since this is PvE, and I obviously am not making like any ridiculous plays, I'm basically here to tell you, the ins and outs of the Infiniteam trait, and also like some of the new stuff that you can expect to see on, first set 8.5. And so right here, this is, the first carousel of the game, and you might notice that it is a little bit different. There's, there's no champions, it's just all anvils, and you're thinking, what the heck is this? It's part of the new mechanic. Glitched out is, the set, so there's like a whole bunch of weird, like, glitchy things that are happening. There's 2 Ezreals, there's, these glitched out carousels, there's like a whole bunch of like wacky combinations of random things that you can get. And so I don't know every single glitched carousel, but the stage 2 carousel is always going to be glitched. The ones that I have seen is, a champion with 2 item components. This one where you get shown an anvil and an item component. So basically everything is the same. You get the anvil and you get the item component, and then you're able to like pop the item or pop the anvil. And anvils now show you 4 item components, so they're like a little bit better. I've seen one where it's like all target dummies, so every single person gets a target dummy and a component. And then the other one that I've seen is you get a lesser champion duplicator, which is something new that they've added for 8.5. It was in Double Up, so if you've ever played Double Up, you can get those like lesser duplicators. And then like in other game modes, like you could get the lesser duplicators in like Fortune Favor, I believe, and like other, like whenever they have like other random game modes. But yeah, the lesser duplicator basically means it's like a champion duplicator, but only for 1, 2, and 3 cost. Okay, and so here we can see the first time that I was able to fit in Infiniteam, and I have to rewind it real quick. Now the reason why, so Infiniteam spat is also new. They replaced Laser Core spat with Infiniteam spat, so if you get sword plus spat, you can play Infiniteam. The only reason why I was going to play, or like I didn't even want to play Infiniteam from this spot, but I got this spat, and then I had a sword, and then I found like a really early TF, so I like really easily could fit in 5 Infiniteam. And so you can see the very first time that I'm able to put Infiniteam in, these 2 hexes pop up. And first of all, let me explain what the hexes do. Basically, if you have an Infiniteam unit, and only an Infiniteam unit, you can place one of the Infiniteam units on the hex, and then the hex will duplicate the champion that you place with, at 3, I believe it's like 40% max health. So if you have, a unit with 1,000 health, then it'll duplicate that champion with 400 health and an item. And then if you have 5 Infiniteam, it's 55% health and 55% of, the original damage. And then at 7 Infiniteam, it's like 90% max health and 90% damage. Either way, I mean, those numbers are probably going to change. But the whole point is that at 1, you get 1 portal, and then at 2, you get 2 portals. Or I mean, at 3, you get 1 portal, and then at 5 and 7, you get 2 portals. And so at 3 Infiniteam, you get to see where the second portal is, and that's exactly why this portal is grayed out. You can see that it goes away. You don't actually get the second portal, but it shows you where it is. So what's going to commonly happen is that if you want to, if Infiniteam is good in the meta, then you're always going to want to make sure that even if it's not your strongest board, you try and fit in 3 Infiniteam, or maybe you scout someone that's putting in 3 Infiniteam, so that you can not only see where the first hex is, but then also the next hex. So let me explain what these hexes are. If you played during like set 6 and you know what like Socialite is, it's pretty similar to that, where the Infiniteam hex is like always random, but it's the same for every person for like every given game. So the hex is right here and like back here. And so that if people choose to play 3, 5, 7 Infiniteam, it's always going to be in the same spot. So not only are you going to have to scout to try and figure out where the Infiniteam hex is, or you're going to have to preemptively put in Infiniteam, you're also going to, like, if Infiniteam is good in the meta, then you can expect Zephyr to be kind of good, because you can always Zephyr, one of their strongest units. Most of the time, you are duplicating a, like one of your strongest units, because if the unit has all of your items, then there's a good chance that it's like probably your strongest unit. It's like the unit that has the most health. It's the unit that does the most damage. And so if you can Zephyr that unit, then, it's like it's going to be like pretty valuable. It's definitely not as valuable as Zephyring someone on like the Socialite hex, because, you can always just put any unit on the Infiniteam hex. Like, it doesn't necessarily have to be like your main carry or your main tank. And you can see here that I duplicated the Blitzcrank and I duplicated the Twisted Fate, and they both have 2 items. Now they both have 2 items, not because I have 5 Infiniteam, but because I have 2 Augments. So if you have 3, 5, or 7 Infiniteam, it does not matter. You will always get 1, 2, or 3 items based on the amount of Augments you currently have. So you see I have 2 Augments. That means that I'm always going to be getting 2 items. Here we are directly after the stage 3 carousel, and this is the first time that I was able to get to level 7. I had all of the 7 Infiniteam units that I needed because I hit the early Twisted Fate. But yeah, so I was able to get 7 Infiniteam in, and you can see it gives like quite a bit more health to this like Blitzcrank, and then you can imagine that this backline Twisted Fate is doing more damage. But the thing is that my team is pretty spread thin of, like support units. It's like basically all just like random damage dealers, and I think the only reason why it's like strong at this point in time is because I like power leveled to get to this spot, and I have a pretty decent front line, and I have like 2 item Twisted Fate. But more often than not, if you kind of look at all of these units here, Lucian, Twisted Fate, Sivir, and like Pantheon, a whole lot of those units are not really providing any support, and they're all just kind of dealing damage. But you obviously can't itemize all of them, so they're not really providing that much value outside of just giving you the vertical Infiniteam. So I think what's going to end up happening more often than not is you're either going to either be playing 3 Infiniteam, and then maybe you'll consider playing 5 Infiniteam if you have a spat. But because 3 Infiniteam seems like the way to go, here is a build that like a lot of people have considered playing. It also makes sense to reroll with Infiniteam units, because the clones that you're getting are based off of your max health. So if you can get, a 3-star Pantheon with like 2k HP, that's going to give you, a lot stronger of a clone than if you're copying like a 2-star Pantheon that only has, like 1000 HP or however much HP that Pantheon has. And so I just kind of put like some random items. But yeah, if you ever get, like a Pantheon Augment or a Salus Augment or a Lucian Augment, maybe try that out. That seems to be like one of the best ways to play around Infiniteam. We can see the final augment of the game here. It's a hero augment, and I consider rerolling for the TF carry hero augment, but all that one does is give you gold. It doesn't actually give you any like combat power for TF. Like, even though it's the carry augment, it doesn't make him any stronger. It just gives you gold for like basically how many times he like casts. So instead I went for the support one here. And the support one, it gives your whole team 12% attack speed, and then after like as soon as your units cast for the first time, then they now have 24% attack speed for like the rest of combat. So you can almost read it as your whole team gains 24% attack speed. Now, obviously, a lot more units are casting faster than others. I think that's exactly why it's a TF augment, because he only has 30 mana, so he's casting, very quickly. So he essentially is getting the 24% attack speed. So if you do want to play, TF carry, then honestly, the support augment is probably just better in general. But yeah, I mean, we can see some of the fights here. I ended up taking out 7 Infiniteam because I found a Warwick 2, and I thought that it would be better to play a team like this. There's so many strong frontline units. Garen is, I think, a significantly better version of Set. And then also Aatrox is, he might be like about as good as Zac. He might be like slightly less tankier, but he's also has the like more of like a drain tank setup where you can also like itemize him with, damage / sustain / tank items. And he does like a very good job at like tanking and stuff like that. Now here we are towards the end of the game, and this is basically what my final comp ended up being. I noticed pretty early on that like I don't think I ever wanted to play 7 Infiniteam. It wasn't providing enough value to my team. I knew I wanted to like have Shen for sure, so I was holding on to Garen's to get that defender. And then since I had this Warwick 2 and I was able to get like an extra admin spat, I wanted to fit in 4 admin. So I ended up playing this like comp where I have, it's like Warwick, Twisted Fate duo carry, AD on Warwick, AP on TF, and then I have this tank items on Garen, and then I'm copying the Garen and the Twisted Fate with the Infiniteam hexes. Now, I put this Infiniteam on the Warwick like earlier on in the game, but that's obviously like a mistake because, the Infiniteam doesn't give you like any bonus. Like the Infiniteam, it might seem pretty good because it's giving you like these, these extra units. It's like essentially giving you, like a woodland charm type deal with items, which is like obviously very strong considering those items are like specifically tailored. But, you don't get any like combat stats. So you never really want to Infiniteam a unit, especially, a unit like Warwick where he really wants to have like a 3 item carry. I think your best bet is probably you have like a main tank, and then if you are going to Infiniteam spat someone, you Infiniteam spat, someone that's either really good duplicated, like I was able to get like another Infiniteam spat, so I have this Fiddlesticks, and then maybe you consider like duplicating Fiddlesticks. It's probably really good on Urgot. Like every single situation where you're playing around, the mirror image, the LeBlanc support hero augment, the same position is like basically where +1 Infiniteam would be good. So I ended up losing the game here, but yeah, let me know what your thoughts are on for like the new units. Hopefully I helped you, learn more about the Infiniteam trait this game. If you made it this far in the video, let me know what you're most excited to play, or if you have already played something, like let me know what you think is like really fun to play. Hopefully you learned something from this video, and I'll see you in the next one.